After her divorce, Dr. Miranda starts a program called Breakup Boot Camp that helps people heal after their breakups. However, once journalist Ben joins her program, she finds it hard to stick to the rules as she develops feelings for him. In the opening scene, we get to see Miranda at a talk show promoting her program. The hosts excitedly introduce her and her health and wellness program that lasts 6 weeks. Miranda states that once people get out of a relationship, they either wish that it wasn't over or wish to be over the whole situation. But what they fail to realize is that it's not in their power how their heart reacts. Further, Miranda talks about the stages of her program, which are release, endurance, teamwork, connection, trust, and closure. Through weeks of vigorous exercise and activities, Miranda's goal is to prove to people that heartbreaks do heal. At the end of the segment, Misty, one of the hosts, asks Miranda to give her business card to her colleague Bink because he is still heartbroken by his previous partner. Trouble seems to be in paradise as we see Ben and his girlfriend Jen arguing about him working all the time. He assures her that he'll be more available once he gets a promotion, asking her to focus on the time they spent together instead of the time they don't. Standing up, she lets him know that she needs someone willing to give her more time. Before exiting the restaurant, standing outside the restaurant waiting for his car, he sees Miranda exiting and looking for the valet, so he decides to approach her by letting her know that the valet is gone with his car. Jokingly, she asks whether he had taken it for a joyride. Unintentionally, he explains his romantic situation, so she asks him whether he wants to talk about it. However, he discards the situation as a cliché of romantic problems. Miranda comforts him with his story, but instead of boy meets girl, she breaks his heart. It's girl meets boy, he breaks her heart, she takes up kickboxing. Ben's car finally arrives, and before he gets in, Miranda assures him that broken hearts do heal. The next morning, we see Miranda at work completing her program with her customers. They are at the final stage of the program, which is closure. She motivates her clients to write about their feelings in 2 minutes, and by the end, they have the right to either send the letter to whomever they wrote it to or burn it in a fire pit. Letting the timer run out, she asks how everyone's feeling, and she is met with positive feedback. Before letting them go, she reminds them not to stalk their exes on social media, which is something we see her doing after the session. As she's looking at her ex's page, Chloe walks in suddenly, startling her, which causes her to accidentally like the photo, but she doesn't even notice. Luckily for her, Chloe lets her know that getting on the show was a great marketing move since the camp got a lot of publicity from it. Miranda is excited for Blink to be joining a program, one of the hosts from the show. Knowing that they'll expand even more, Miranda asks Chloe to look for bigger places for them to hold the programs. Being on the topic of their hostings, Miranda asks Chloe when will she be ready to start leading the program, but Chloe lets her know that she just wants to stay in her lane. However, she lets Miranda know that she has a couple of people who are willing to audition for the role once she wants to take a break. As Miranda's working in the office, we can see Ben doing his morning run. Returning home, he is met by his sister waiting at the front door, asking for a favor. Getting inside the apartment, she begs him not to let her call or visit Darren, her ex-boyfriend, because he's engaged. Ben promises to be by her side, and Kim is glad that they're having a lonely hearts type of bonding. However, Ben lets her know that he's fine, but she doesn't believe that. As they're on the topic of healing, Kim takes the chance to talk about Miranda's program, begging Ben to come with her. Despite being hesitant at first, Ben agrees to tag along just to know where his sister is and what she's doing. Miranda finally agrees to meet some of the potential candidates to be her colleague, as we see her and Chloe walking down the street about to meet the Reiki woman, despite not knowing what that means. They soon get to find out as she asks them to incorporate past life regressions into their program, insinuating that we aren't always dealing with drama from the current life. Completely weirded out, they let her know that it's not something they're willing to work with. Miranda's new session of the program is about to begin as we see people filling the area. Among them are Kim and Ben, who introduce themselves to a lady named Helen, who is actually there for a rerun. As Kim's explaining that Ben should participate as well, his phone rings, so he excuses himself. Finishing the call, he is surprised to see Miranda there. Right off the bat, he lets her know that he's there to support his sister and not for himself, since he thinks that the whole thing is a fraud. As they're talking, Ben suggests that they go grab a slice of pizza instead of watching the program, but Miranda asks him to give it a chance, so they walk inside. Ben doesn't know that the woman he's talking to is Miranda and that she is the teacher of the program, so he is shocked to hear her giving instructions to people once they walk into the area. Later on, we see Miranda going through the program when Ben chimes in, asking why fear's not incorporated into the program since everybody there is afraid to deal with life without the person who broke their hearts. Seeing a couple of people agreeing with him, Miranda lets them know that fear is a symptom, and through the program, they're working with solutions while focusing on the words that uplift. However, she does agree that doing something you're scared of could be empowering, so she lets them know that they'll be working on that issue in their next session. After their session is over, Miranda calls Ben for a chat to let him know that the camp might not be for him if he doesn't take it seriously, advising him to figure out what he wants. Getting out of the area, he is met with his sister bombarding him about his behavior, calling him a know-it-all. Already annoyed by his snarkiness, she lets him know that she'll be fine on her own since he doesn't plan on coming back because he thinks that the whole thing is redundant. We see Ben calling Miranda the next morning to let her know that he's not coming back since the camp isn't a good idea for him. His boss comes around to let him know that an editor's position would be freed soon, hinting that he might be getting that promotion. However, as he heads his way, he sees Miranda's guidebook and comes up with the best idea, asking Ben to rejoin the camp and write an article on it. The morning doesn't seem to be going well for Miranda, as Chloe plays her a voicemail from her ex-husband where he asks Miranda why she had liked his post on Instagram. She tries to justify herself by claiming that she had been curious, and promises not to call him despite his asking. His boss's request for an article isn't the only thing that pushes Ben to join the camp. As he's taking a walk with Kim, he bumps into his ex-girlfriend on a date with an annoying coworker, who pisses Ben even more after saying no hard feelings. Right, bro. Returning to the camp, Miranda assumes he had come for the refund. But he lets her know that he's ready to join after seeing his ex-girlfriend move on so fast. Miranda understands what he's going through, so she agrees to have him back, but she reminds him that he has to be fully open about his situation since he has to sign a pledge of commitment. Later that day, starting the first week strong, Release is presented with punching bags, and in a way, they can release the built-up anger they have in them. Seeing Ben and Kim struggle to hit hard, Miranda reminds them of their ex-partners and they start punching and kicking harder. Despite being a skeptic at first, Ben admits that the method does feel good. Leaving the studio, Ben gets a call from his boss asking how his session had gone. Ben lets him know that he's still unsure about the program but also mentions the commitment pledge being a red flag for him. Interested, his boss encourages him to continue with the program but to read the fine print first. Returning to the studio, Ben tries to find out whether some people had asked for refunds as he wants to include it in his research. Right as Miranda's about to answer, her ex-husband Dex calls out her name from behind. He wants to talk but Ben can see that she doesn't want to, so he steps in and pretends that they're about to go to their favorite restaurant. Miranda goes along, making it more believable, before cutting the conversation and dragging Ben with her. Curious, Ben tries to find out the whole situation but Miranda only lets him know that Dex is her ex-husband. Trying to change the subject, she asks why he was so specific about where they were going as he almost sounded like he wanted to go there. He lets her know that he was talking about his favorite restaurant and even invites her to go together sometimes, but she lets him know that she has to prepare for the following day, before leaving. The next morning, Ben can be seen working when his boss checks up on how his article's going. Ben lets him know that there are only 5-star reviews but his boss reminds him that the bad ones could be erased, and encourages him to keep searching. Endurance the second week of the camp enrolls and we see the team doing jumping jacks. As they continue with squads, Bink opens up about being oblivious to the red flags despite everyone warning him. He blames their connection and the feeling that she had given him when no one else could. Miranda assures him that he will find a person who will make him feel the same, he just has to give it some time. As they continue with the exercise, Ben can't help but complain about it not helping get over somebody, but Miranda reminds him that challenging yourself at a point where your confidence may be depleted can make you feel powerful. Helen reveals that she had tried bungee jumping instead of calling her ex-husband, and to her, it was the most incredible experience. Climbing the ropes, she claims that she can do anything, which the rest of the team finds inspiring. As the whole team finishes the rope climbing without any of them giving up, Miranda reminds them to think about the exercise whenever their confidence starts depleting. As Ben dives deeper into his research, he finds out that Miranda goes rock climbing, so he decides to join the class as well. Miranda can be seen with Chloe as they discuss their next potential colleague before the lady walks in. Miranda is open to meeting new potential workers, but she lets Chloe know that she's the only perfect one for the job. After finishing work, Miranda heads to rock climbing class where she meets Ben. Surprised, she asks what he's doing there and he lets her know that her class has inspired him to start something new. He complains about his back hurting, but Miranda asks him about his heart. Claiming that his heart is perfectly fine, he tries changing the topic, which proves to Miranda that he's not ready to talk about it yet. They start climbing the walls and Ben has a hard time with it. As they take a break, Ben tries to find out more about the camp by asking about the hearts that she wasn't able to heal. Miranda suggests they focus on the positive, but Ben argues that focusing on the negative can be a great way of improvement. She agrees but lets him know that it's not the way her camp works. She had her heart broken and she healed by the same steps she encourages in her program. After climbing some more, they sit down for a break when Miranda tells Ben that she knows it was his first time climbing. Finally, Ben opens up about being a bad liar and a chronic overthinker, so Miranda listens carefully. He thinks that the night he was left at the restaurant was a favor for him because he was never ready to take things to the next level with Jen, and being in the program had made him come to terms with it. Week 3 of the program comes by fast and the goal of it is teamwork. The team walks into an escape room where Miranda lets them know that the feeling they have of not trusting anyone will go away, and that they're never alone. They're in an escape room because their mission is to rely on each other. After all, there's a bomb and they have 60 minutes to turn it off before everything explodes. As everyone pairs up and starts working, Miranda reminds them that if something isn't working out, they should try a different tactic. Ben finds an odd-looking machine, so he pulls the lever that's on it while asking Miranda to push the red button. They open a secret passage all of a sudden, so Ben and Miranda walk in when the door slams shut, locking them in. The alarm goes off, alerting the others to help their friends get out for the next clue. As Ben's looking around the room, Miranda starts panicking as her claustrophobia kicks in. Sliding down the wall, she tries to take deep breaths to calm herself down. Noticing her not feeling well, he tries to distract her by asking her random questions. They start a conversation and Miranda seems to be distracted. She asks Ben not to tell anyone about her weakness and he promises not to, letting him know that he can let his guard down as well. She hopes he finally opens up more, but he doesn't say anything. Finally, the door opens, and even though their mission has failed, Miranda lets them know that the team effort counts. After the activity, Ben catches up to Miranda to ask her whether the letter can be addressed to someone else. Realizing that he's talking about his biggest love, Serena, she asks him why he's not going to write it to Jen. Surprised that she remembered, he lets her know that it hadn't been real for him with Jen. Week 4 comes and it's time for the group to get back in touch with their vulnerability with connection. Senora Cornejo has been called by Miranda to help everybody connect through salsa. She advises them to be as relaxed as possible, and right as she's about to start, she gets interrupted by Kim saying that she can't dance with her brother. Bink steps in and becomes her partner while Miranda and Ben are stuck together. Both of them feel uncomfortable. They start dancing, but Miranda accidentally steps on his shoes. Senora chimes in and shows Miranda how to do it. Tension can be felt as Ben takes Miranda on his shoulder. Getting up, she reminds everyone that they will feel safe, and others embrace again while looking into Ben's eyes. We find out that Miranda hasn't gotten over her ex Dex despite claiming to, as we see her written letter to Dex before she goes to bed. An emergency occurs the next morning as Ben calls Miranda to let her know that Kim had written her letter earlier. And once she tried to deliver it to her ex, she found out that he was going to marry. Miranda arrives at Ben's apartment to comfort Kim, but it turns out that she hasn't gotten over him at all as she kept all of their pictures together. Kim admits to feeling stupid as she admits bursting into tears once she saw her ex's fiancé. Miranda lets her know that it's all a part of the healing process and that she should not let him control her happiness. Wiping her tears off her cheeks, Kim motivates herself to forget about him and continue being successful in her career. Ben and Miranda walk together after comforting Kim when Miranda finally reveals that she's a work in progress as well. Getting into work, Miranda is met by a client and Chloe. However, Chloe pulls her aside to let her know that Dex had been calling nonstop asking for her to talk to him. She encourages Miranda to step out of her comfort zone and hear him out, but Miranda isn't sure. At work, Ben's asked to provide whatever notes and pictures he has about the program, despite him letting his boss know that it's not what he had expected. He sits by his desk writing about whether a heart can be healed in 6 weeks, as Miranda claims. Chloe and Miranda close their club spot when Ben appears in front of them. He lets Miranda know that he has to tell her something and suggests they go to his favorite place. Finally agreeing to do something out of her comfort zone, Miranda is up for the experience. As they look at the beautiful view in front of them, Ben admits to coming to that spot every night in college, and reassuring himself that he'll make it one day. She admits to having misjudged him as she apologizes for her assumptions. He reveals that she hasn't been completely wrong, as he has been avoiding everyone for more than 10 years. As they're on the topic of judging, Miranda reveals that he had been right about her camp being a rebound for her. It was something that she had started after the breakup, and it worked for her. Week 4 comes by and it is all about trust. Ben finally opens up as he reveals that his girlfriend had rejected his proposal 3 days after she had left with her first love. The whole situation had derailed Ben, and even Kim chimes in to say that she hasn't seen her brother be the same ever since. Miranda lets Ben know that life isn't prologue and that he can put his trust in another person not to let him down. The group gathers around Ben before he falls into their arms, insinuating trust. After the activity is finished, Miranda gets a call from Dex and she finally agrees to talk to him. At lunch, he lets her know that he's getting married, and surprisingly, Miranda doesn't feel mad at all. She admits that she now realizes that they were never compatible, and he is glad she feels that way. Feeling great about her response, she decides to visit Ben in his office. Once he sees her, he shuts his tabs as he sees the person he's writing about. Miranda comes behind his cube to talk when his boss comes around asking for the article. He almost ruins it all by claiming to recognize Miranda, but Ben motions in time for him to stop talking. Wanting to get out of the office, he suggests they go grab a bite. She is surprised to see that he's taking her to a food stand, but once she tries the food, she understands why. Letting him know that she has seen Dex, she feels free letting it all out on someone. To celebrate, he asks her whether she wants to go sit in silence in the evening as he wipes mustard off her lips. Checking the time, she says that she has to go before reminding him that they're just friends. Back at the office, Ben's boss seems to be impressed by his dedication, but Ben can't help but feel bad about it. As they sit on the truck in the silent night, Ben tells his most embarrassing stories. In college, he wanted to enroll in pre-med but had fainted on the girl he had a crush on, breaking her tibia. Since then, he has decided to shift to journalism, and he loves how his words can educate and inspire. He starts the conversation about rebounds, hinting that they can't always be bad. Miranda says that they might even keep you away from the wrong thing, and Ben agrees, as he asks her to admit to feeling something the first night they met, suggesting that rebounds can show how they feel. He leans in, kissing her softly. The next morning, both Ben and Miranda share the news in their closets. Both Chloe and Kim think that it's a great idea that they stepped out of their comfort zone. Ben finally admits to Kim that taking him to the class had been a good idea, but Miranda can't help but complain to Chloe that she had made a mistake. Getting the unexpected bad feedback from his boss, Ben tries to call Miranda but she doesn't answer him. Chloe reminds her that she'll have to talk to Ben eventually, but she doesn't know what to say. For her, getting with him would be breaking all the rules, and transferring feelings from one person to another is the worst they can do. She knows that she doesn't have feelings for Dex, but she isn't sure that she's not a rebound for him. However, Chloe reminds her that love is a risk worth taking, which gets her thinking. Before the final session begins, Kim asks Miranda whether she can burn a scarf of her ex, and overhearing their conversation, Blink asks whether she'll be down to come to the show again to expand the program even more. Ben asks Miranda whether they can talk, and they settle on meeting after work. The final week finally comes as we see Miranda encouraging the group to express their emotions in the letter before telling them that time's up. Chloe hands some of the forgotten things to Miranda before leaving the office. Seeing Ben's book, Miranda gets curious, so she reads the pages only to realize that he's been writing an expose of her program. Meeting at the food stand, she hands him the book, not wanting to hear anything from him. He tries to explain, but she assumes the worst. Later in the evening, we can see Miranda tearing up the letter to Dex and writing once to Ben. Tears start falling down her cheeks as she bursts into crying. As Kim goes to give Ben a piece of her mind in the morning, we can see Miranda hitting the punching bag like it's Ben. Chloe tells her to go home and relax for the bonfire and assures her that she'll take care of everything, confirming that she'll become her partner. Before the bonfire begins, Kim catches up to Miranda to let her know that she didn't know anything. Miranda knows that she hadn't been involved, so she assures her that they're fine. However, Kim can't help but let her know that no matter the reason, she had changed Ben for the better. It is time for the letters to be burnt or sent after everyone reads them, but before they get to that part, Miranda takes the letter she wrote to Ben and throws it in the fire. Kim throws the letter in the fire as well as his sweater, and Bink seems to have had a similar idea as he throws the chair that reminds him of her in the pit as well. Helen doesn't throw the letter like she had the first time. Instead, she decides to give him a piece of her mind. As the group's enjoying the fire, Ben can be seen writing the article that will change everything. After finishing week 3 with a new group of people, Chloe and Miranda return to their phones with many missed calls. They find out that Ben had published the article, and while they expect the worst, they are pleasantly surprised by his kind words. In the article, he talks about the change he experienced while being in the program and encourages everyone to give it a shot, as he says healing is yours for the taking. Miranda feels her heart melting as she reads the most beautiful article about her work. Handing it over to Chloe, she rushes to Ben's office where she discovers that he had gotten a promotion from his boss. Heading to the right floor, she finds him in his office looking out the window. Getting closer, she lets him know that she liked the article, and as a way to make it up to her, she suggests he becomes her rebound. They finally make up as they share a passionate kiss. Their success is recognized by everyone as we see them at the talk show with Bink and Misty promoting Miranda's guidebook. The last we see of them is when they overlook the beautiful scenery while sharing a sweet kiss.